And we have another special guest, episode 59. We have a great special guest. You know him as a second-round draft pick of the New York Rangers. Spent 5 seasons there before being traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets in that big, huge Rick Nash deal. And he scored over 70 goals and had over 150 assists for the Jackets. And his presence really started and signified the start of winning in Columbus. And we love him for that. So we are very excited to bring on from the Blue Jackets, Brandon Dubinsky. Brandon, welcome to the Garage Beers podcast.
Yeah, guys, thank you. Like I said earlier, it's been a bit of a busy few weeks, but happy to join you guys and talk hockey and talk sports and everything else. So excited to be here.
And we appreciate you taking the time in a busy schedule of travel, and we're going to get to that travel and all of that to jump on with us and dad life. Again, a couple of us on this podcast know what that's all about. So we know how hard it can be to step away, but we appreciate your time jumping on. I'll tell you what, man, ever since we announced you were coming on, Blue Jackets fans have been flooding the socials. They are excited to hear you on the podcast. So we're excited to get rolling with you to talk some hockey. But before we get into that, we start all of our shows with our favorite segment of the week. It's called our Garage Beers of the Week. And we always let our special guests kick us off. So Brendan, all we ask you to do is just tell us what you're drinking and tell us how you like it and give us a little review.
Guys, I'm a little ashamed right now. I didn't have time to run out and grab what I wanted. So unfortunately, I just have a Stella tonight, but
yeah,
that's okay. There's nothing wrong with a Stella.
Nice drinkable beer. Down here in Florida, I like High Life a lot. I'm sort of into IPAs. If there's one thing I miss, I know you boys are a little bit further north, but if there's one thing I miss, it's my Elvis juice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love my Elvis juice. So, I need some of the boys to send me some of that. That's for sure. I'm empty right now.
Yeah, we get plenty of that up here in Cleveland, man. Have you? I don't know, like, if you've heard of the hotel or if you've been to the hotel down there, the Brewdog Hotel, there, Brandon?
No, I haven't. The only Brewdog I've been to is the one down there in Franklinton, the restaurant, the tasting room they have down there in Franklinton, which they got a pretty sweet setup there with the rooftop and whatnot. So I have not been down to the hotel.
Yeah. Apparently you get your own tap in your room. You get like beer infused massages. Like you get, it's just beer, everything, man. And it kind of sounds like heaven, if I'm being honest with you.
What's a beer infused
Sounds like
massage?
I got to book a vacation down there.
Yeah, right.
Hey, listen, what everybody in South Florida wants to do is book a vacation to Columbus. But you know what? The Brewdog Hotel has a little fridge built into the shower, so you can just have a shower beer anytime you want. How do you go wrong with that?
It's insane.
You can't. You absolutely can't.
So listen, a beer, I've talked about this on the podcast, a beer that's near and dear to my heart, the Stella for Brandon Dubinsky. There's nothing wrong with that. Any beer is a good beer here we don't judge. We're the Garage Beer podcast. We don't judge. Let's send it over to Nashville, Tennessee. Joey Whalen, what's up, Joe? What do you got for your Garage Beer of the Week?
I got Yazoo again because I bought a variety pack. So you might have another couple of Yazoos coming next couple of weeks. We just got their like straight up pale ale. It's pretty good. I poured it and the foam finally went down. It's a pretty heady beer. So I'm glad to have gotten through all the foam, and the actual beer is pretty good.
All right. Joe with the Yazoo, second week in a row. They're going to love us. Yazoo, if you want to send us a check for any marketing fees, that's cool with us. Chad over on the east side of Cleveland. Chad, what are you drinking tonight?
Boys, have you ever had a beer where you can't even pronounce the brewery that it comes from?
Yes.
That's what I'm bringing to the table tonight. It's from Iceland. It's like
Einstock.
Einstock?
Oh yeah.
Einstock.
Yeah.
Einstock's great.
This is a toasted porter. It's delicious. Yeah, it would be brewed with Icelandic coffee, and I hate the taste of regular coffee. I've said that on this podcast before, but mixed with a beer, it's pretty good.
Sounds a little heavy. How do you stay light over there?
yeah. Well, it's still a little chilly. You know, we're not to summer beers yet, so the summer body's coming here soon, Brandon.
Fair,
Summer body's coming.
You know, an Icelandic beer, I need to go before I go to my garage beer. I need to know Brandon Dubinsky's thought on this. You and I aren't very far off on age. Mighty Ducks 2, Iceland was the like powerhouse of the world. What the hell was that all about? When was Iceland ever a powerhouse of the world in hockey?
Honestly, it's amazing they asked this question because, you know, my boys just are absolutely in love with all the Mighty Ducks movies. And so, I mean, I've watched them 1,000 times recently. And my oldest boy, he's 7. So like whenever the World Junior came on and stuff like that, like he just loved watching all that stuff. And he always asked me like, Dad, where's Iceland? Like, where's Iceland? Like, why are they not playing? Or he'd be like, hey, Dad, like, when is the next Junior Goodwill Games? Because, you know, that's the tournament that they play. Like, how do you explain to a 7-year-old that doesn't really exist and that Iceland's not a team and Trinidad and Tobago is not a team? I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I'll take that back. They probably have teams, but like playing against, you know, the U.S. in tournaments and stuff like that. So hilarious that you asked that, but it's something that comes up in my house often. That's for sure.
Listen. They were so.
You should know Gordon Bombay, legend.
Yeah. Listen, they were so embarrassed that they lost to the U.S. in the Goodwill Games. They just stopped playing hockey. They just stopped playing hockey.
You know, hey, Dad, where's Gunnar Stahl playing these days? And Derek Sanderson.
Yeah. Beer leagues. That's it. Beer leagues.
There's no more legendary moment than when the coach, you lost it for us, Gunnar. And he just looks at him and goes, you lost it for yourself. Let's go shake their hands. I love it. All right, so that brings me to me. And I've got a Lagunitus. Lagunitus Hazy Wonder. It's good. It's a hazy IPA. It's really light, actually. It's very like kind of see-through. But it's light, easy drinking, perfect for a podcast night, perfect to talk a little hockey. And those are our garage beers of the week. So if you're listening, share with us your garage beer of the week. Share with us if you know any beers that we haven't had that you're dying to have on. Let us know. We'll go get them. We'll try them on the podcast. We'll call you out. But to you guys here on the podcast, cheers. To you, the listener, cheers. And now it's time for us to get into a little hockey talk again with our very, very special guest, Brandon Dubinsky. And Brandon, there's about a million things to talk about regarding you, regarding your career, regarding the Blue Jackets and the NHL. But before we get into hockey, and we've talked about this a little bit before we even went on, just kind of fun stuff. Let people get to know you. You've talked about your love of travel. You make it well known. You post about it. You said your love of traveling is your way to relax and recharge. So been anywhere good lately? And where are your favorite places to travel?
Oh God, you know what? I've been so spoiled. Obviously, I've been everywhere for hockey. Hockey's obviously afforded me the ability to take nice vacations, you know, in different, you know, crazy places and cool places and stuff like that. I would have to say, you know, probably my favorite place to vacation is in Anguilla, the island in Caribbean. Just gorgeous, unbelievable. You know, easygoing life, great food, great atmosphere, great beaches, real relaxing, real nice. I recently though, you know, obviously with COVID and stuff, there wasn't a whole lot. So I sort of, you know, as things have started opening up, we've sort of, you know, done more stuff. And I came down here. I'm living in Florida now, so we recently went to Disney. Probably not the most pandemic friendly place in the world, but you know, we wore a mask and did our thing. But took the kids for Disney for spring break. Just came back from Charleston for a wedding. One of my buddies got married. It was another COVID wedding that got pushed back, so it was a Sunday wedding. Spent a couple days there, and now we're back here in Florida. So, like you said, love traveling, but it's been nice to kind of being down here in Florida. Everything feels so close, and being able to go to some pretty cool places down here.
That's awesome.
Anguilla, cool. Yeah, obviously that would be beautiful. But Joe and I actually a couple years ago. Charleston's a great town. What a fun time. What a great, I don't know how it was in the pandemic. Obviously everything's different with that, but what a great city right on the ocean, South Carolina. It's great.
It was sweet. It was actually really sweet. We stayed, we actually stayed downtown one night and then out sort of like on the water, a place called Isle of the Palms. That's where the wedding was and everything else. So that was nice, but downtown was amazing. I mean, we jumped in an Uber for like a 45-minute drive, and we had this guy who was like a naval historian. So we were literally getting a history lesson of Charleston, of the United States. And, I had no idea that the Revolutionary War started there and shit went back all the way to the 1600s there. It was crazy. So what an experience. It was a good time.
Look at that. I just learned something. The only thing I know about Charleston is my wife watches Southern Charm on Bravo. And that's really it. That's really it. But so I mean, I kind of feel like I'm living that lifestyle when I'm watching it, but
You're not. You're not.
You mean I'm not friends with Shep? Come on.
No.
Anyway, so Brandon, you're also a huge MMA fan. Like, I mean, I know it goes all the way back to like UFC 1, 2, and 3. Like when they were like bare knuckle, no holds barred, like
one boxing glove. One boxing glove.
Yeah.
Whoever thought that was a good idea?
Right.
I'm gonna fight with one boxing glove on.
Right.
What an amazing idea! I'm gonna punch this guy with padding on my hands.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. What the hell, right? But I wanted to ask you about it. I mean, I know you were traveling, but did you get a chance to see the Stipe fight? Being in Cleveland, obviously, he's a Cleveland born and bred guy. He's a firefighter here, so he's he's around all the time. But yeah. So you said you watched the fight. What are your thoughts on it, and what are your thoughts on Stipe in general? Because I mean, you never know; it might be his last fight.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, well, first of all, obviously it's been talked about a lot, but I mean, greatest of all time, greatest heavyweight of all time, no doubt about it. The trilogy with DC, his first fight with Francis, the rest of it. Watch the fight. I tweeted about it, and he looked like he was just too little for the division. I mean, like it looked like two mismatched human beings fighting. I mean that with all the respect in the world. Obviously, he's one of the toughest son of a bitches ever. I mean, and scary as hell. I mean, I would never want to run into him anywhere and make him mad. But 230 pounds. I know they talked a little bit about it, how he was lighter for, the last DC fight, but I mean, there's just, 30 pounds, 35 pound weight difference in that division, and then taking shots like that. It was tough to watch. Obviously I picked Stipe. I wanted Stipe to win, the whole Ohio thing, wanted him to continue his reign but we'll see. I mean, I like I said as well, I think they got to run it back. I mean, he gave DC a trilogy. Like, he won the first one. Francis won the second. So if he wants it, he should get it. I don't really like this John Jones shit, him jumping right in the middle of it. I'd rather see him get a shot. I mean, if you call him the greatest of all time, treat him that way and give him a chance to get the belt back if that's what he wants. If he doesn't, and then the last thing that I think, and again, it's his life, and we all have our own lives, and we got to live it the way we want to live it. But, I don't, he's talking about like getting shit up like at the firehouse and whatnot. I'm like, dude, you should be like in the gym training, like you're making millions of dollars to be a fighter. I don't know why you're out, like wait until you're done. Like that career still exists for you once you're done fighting.
Right.
I mean, you're still like you're still Superman when you're done fighting.
Right.
Like be in the gym and get ready for one of the, right now, the scariest human beings in the world.
Right.
So,
right. I mean,
who knows?
Firefighters only work like
though,
once every 72 hours. So
well, yeah.
be training.
Nagano,
that guy. I don't know. Did they got like an octagon attached to his firehouse or something? Like,
yeah.
When
they
he's
pull it.
sitting
They
there
pull it
waiting
with the
for
truck.
something to burn up, like he should be in the ring.
The gym he trains at is actually down the street from his firehouse. So little fun fact. So yeah, why not?
I'm telling you, Francis Nagano though is the craziest fighter I think I've ever seen. Like,
I mean,
that good, all he's got to do is land one haymaker and it's over. But he's so beatable too. It's like, that's why I want to see another Stipe rematch, because he's beatable.
Yeah.
You just got to stay out of the way of that fist, man. He lands one punch and you are out.
Yeah, he was patient though. I mean, like, God, I wouldn't want to be getting walked down by that monster. I mean, it was like, I think I talked about it before. It's like, it was like nervous watching it. I'm like watching one. I'm like just getting ready for one of these guys' eyes to roll in the back of their head, because it wasn't going, it wasn't going the distance. You just had, there was just a matter of time before somebody got popped and went on their back, and the rest was history with those big boys.
All right, so let's spend a second. Let's get off MMA. Let's get into some hockey, but let's spend a second on you. A lot of people know you, Blue Jackets fan especially, but let's spend a second on just growing up a little bit. You grew up in Anchorage, which is hilarious. It feels like a totally different continent. It feels like a different country, a different continent. Anchorage, Alaska. Maybe it's because a country separates us. But just describe growing up in Anchorage and what the best part was about growing up in Alaska.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. Childhood was great. My dad got me into hockey real young, got on skates. It's exactly what you hear about all the time. Every hockey player says it. I'm not sure how many hockey players have actually done it, but, we were skating outside, I can't say we were skating the pond or the river like Stevie Weeks up there, in the Mystery Alaska, but every school had a rink, and there was a bunch of public outdoor rinks and stuff. So we skated a lot outside. Just a great childhood. Obviously played all my minor hockey there up until I was 15, 16 years old. And had some really good coaches and really good players to play around and stuff like that. So growing up in Alaska was a lot of fun. It wasn't until later in life when, it was during the 12-13 lockout when, my wife and I, we just got married. We went back up there for the lockout, and I played for the Alaska Aces, when I realized like how crazy it was, in the winter in Alaska. Like, first of all, how cold it was, how much snow there was, and, how dark it was. I mean, and how depressing it actually was. Like, I love Alaska. All my Alaskan friends and people listening, like, I love it. But like, the winters are just crazy. But, growing up there, you didn't know any better. I mean, that's just the way it was. So for me to leave and then come back, 2012, I guess that would have been, 10 years after I left, 11 years after I left. It was really eye-opening what Alaska was all about. But it was an amazing place to grow up in, and we'll always have, love Alaska.
So what was that experience like, going back, to 12, 13, you said, hey, big city, screw you. I'm going back home and I'm going to play for the Aces. Like, what was that? I mean, was there a huge just welcome home party? What was that whole experience playing for them like?
It was like epic, actually. It was kind of like a high school reunion in a way, as crazy as that sounds. I mean, a lot of people, like when they grow up in Alaska, like they love Alaska. They never leave Alaska. Like it's like a lot of my buddies and stuff, like they're lifers in Alaska. And, so going home, I got to like reconnect with a bunch of people. One of my best friends in high school was my roommate on the road, playing in the East Coast League, because everyone has roommates, in that league. So he was my roommate on the road. It was pretty, we reconnected, had a lot of fun. And really the reason I did it was because of Scott Gomez. Like, he was kind of our role model growing up, and, obviously, an amazing player with an amazing career in the NHL. And he went back and did it like in the 04-05 lockout, and like really set the tone for all the rest of us. So ended up being 4 of us that played in the NHL, like going back and playing in that 12-13 season, had a blast together. It was just awesome. And we were pretty good too. So that made it a lot more fun too.
Yeah. So Chad kind of mentioned it. You mentioned it. Chad mentioned leaving the big city, going back to Alaska. But you grew up in Alaska. You weren't like stuck in Alaska. You played in the Pacific Northwest a bit. But when it came time for the NHL draft, you get drafted in the second round by the New York Rangers. And so, you know, what a crazy experience. First of all, obviously, what was that moment like for you when you hear your name, you get drafted by the Rangers, and then the realization that you're going from a childhood in Anchorage, Alaska, to play at Madison Square Garden, New York City, the New York Rangers? What was that whole thing like for you?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but you know, I've shared it before. So my dad grew up in New York. He grew up in the Bronx and then Long Island. So he was a lifelong Rangers fan since the early 60s. So like when I got drafted by the Rangers, and I knew like going into the thing, like I had some pretty good meetings. Actually, Columbus was one of my great meetings. Like I thought that I had a chance of getting drafted by Columbus. And I think they picked right before the Rangers picked when I got drafted. I said, I was kind of telling my dad, I was like, you know, I might go here. And, you know, they ended up picking a guy named Kyle Wharton from the Ontario League. And the next pick was the Rangers. And it ended up happening. And like in that moment, this is like my favorite team growing up as a child because it was my dad's favorite team. And I'm from Alaska. We don't have a team. So it was it was the craziest like feeling in the world. And I think my dad was more excited than I was. So I don't, you know, that was even more crazy. But moving on to like actually going there, I had a couple minor stepping stones along the way coming from a small Anchorage, Alaska. You know, I went to Portland. I spent a year in Hartford in the American League and then ended up playing in New York. But it was, you know, definitely a wild whirlwind for sure. I mean, being a young kid in Manhattan is crazy. And I'm just happy that I had, you know, great teammates and people around me and surrounding me to, you know, look after me, take care of me and, you know, keep me on the right path and doing the right things.
It's an easy place to stray, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if you want to do something every single night, you can until just about any hour of the night. So,
oh God, it's crazy.
It's a wild place.
We've talked to a lot of athletes, a lot of broadcasters throughout this whole. We're the goofballs who decided to start a podcast right in the middle of a pandemic, or right at the beginning of one. But we've talked to a lot of athletes, a lot of broadcasters about the lack of travel, what they miss, all that stuff. And it's funny, within the hockey community and within the basketball community, the overwhelming consensus is the place they miss the most is New York City, Madison Square Garden. So, you know, you're this kid that gets drafted, you move to New York, you're playing for the Rangers. Do you remember that first time skating out on the ice as a rookie, Madison Square Garden? Like, what's that experience like for you? Is it overwhelming?
Yeah, I mean, it's just numbing at the end. I mean, there's really no other words to describe it. Like I don't know, like you have, like, there's a little bit of like being naive too. Like looking back, it kind of, you know, it, you know, is a little bit heavier of a weight, but like, I guess like when you're 20, like you're just so full of piss and vinegar. Like you just want to go out there and like kill the world and kill everyone and like conquer the world. So like, I don't even know if you appreciate it then. Like you're definitely nervous, but at the same time, you're like, I gotta go and show everyone I'm the best player in the world, even though there's probably a lot better players in the world. But
Right.
You just have that attitude, like, you know, nobody can touch me.
I love that you said the thing about being 20. Because you're like, I can just do that now. You know, a lot of us are sitting here in our mid 30s, and like I'm like, I need a nap, and then I need another nap, and then I can conquer the world. Like then I'm good.
Yeah, I need a nap from my other naps. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like this podcast. I mean, it might sound crazy, but I'd be in bed by now. Like, believe me, like it's dark in my house. My kids, when they go down, I go down. I mean, I might watch. Yeah. I mean, I might watch TV for a little while, or like, you know, hang out on my phone for a bit or something, turn the game on or whatever. But like, and like I'm a like a TV watcher in bed, so like I know some people are like no TVs in the bedrooms, you know, like I don't want to ruin my REM sleep or anything like that. No, I mean, like I'll go straight to bed, even if it's a couple hours. Like I'm like, kids are down, I'm going down. Like I'm getting horizontal, I'm getting comfortable, and I'm gonna turn the tube on and just hang out. So you guys just keep me up a little bit late right now.
Oh man, now I feel bad.
I don't
Yeah,
feel bad.
yeah.
I just appreciate you. We
Yeah,
appreciate
no, I
you
do.
staying up past your bedtime.
Yeah, yeah, appreciate it big time, man. All right, so hey, listen. Now you had some crazy. No, it's like gotta pick up. Now you had some crazy, interesting times in New York, and one of them was somehow you found yourself on a line with Yarmir Yager and Sean fucking Avery at the time. You found a lot of success early on in your career, but I mean, that had to have been pretty wild to find yourself, with a legend, and then Yager and Avery beside you. Like, what was that like?
There's only like one story to describe it all. I was down. We're down in Tampa, or either Tampa or playing Florida, and like we finish a meeting, and Yogs comes up to me and he's like, "No, we're not doing that. We're gonna do this." And then like Abe's comes up to me and is like, "Don't fucking listen to Yags. Like we're doing this." And then then Tom Rennie comes up to me. I swear to God, he comes right up to me and he grabs me and pulls me aside. He's like, you're a rookie or second or yeah. It was my first full season in NHL, so I was a rookie. He's like, "You're a rookie. I'm the coach. You got to respect me. You're not listening to either one of those guys. You're listening to me." And so like I'm like, okay. So I got Yogs telling me to listen to him. Ace telling me to listen to him. And then Tom Reddy told me to listen to him, and I went back to the hotel that day for my nap, my meal, my nap, the whole rest of it. And
Yeah.
I made the decision. I was like, all right, I'm listening to Yarmir Yager, because if there's one guy that's going to put me on the ice, if he loves me and he's going to put me on the ice every time, I'm listening to Yags. No disrespect to the head coach, but that was the guy that was going to decide whether or not I was going to A, play, B, play on the power play, and C, get the points that I wanted, because he was one of the greatest players in the world.
Right. And then of course you got Aves always just stirring the pot for no reason
He just
whatsoever.
right in the ear, 24/7.
Yeah. Oh shit.
He's the devil on your one shoulder, just whispering in your ear.
Oh, always. But I loved Sean. I loved playing with Sean. He was a riot, man. He was a riot.
So I don't bring this up as a bad memory, but it's just fascinating to listen to athletes talk about this stuff. Your last season in New York was the best one for the team, right? Your best season in New York, the team's best season. You're the top seeded team in the playoffs. You have a phenomenal regular season before you fall to the New Jersey Devils. You got a great team, right? You got Ryan Callahan, Brad Richards, Mark Stahl, Lundqvist, obviously, and so many. Like if you look at that roster, it's just like boom, 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 just good player after good player after good player. As you're going through a year like that, are you feeling like the New York Rangers are winning the Stanley Cup? Like we got this. And then when you lose to New Jersey, just what's that feeling for you guys at the end of that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like we had such a good season, such a good team, like you said. Yeah, it felt like I don't know about listen, LA, that was the year LA won the cup. They beat the Devils, and like I think they lost one game in the playoffs, or like two. Like it was insane. Like they went like bananas from I think they were an 8 seed, and they went like bananas. But I mean, I don't know, like if like Marty Brodeur just had like a renaissance or something like that. Like it was insane. Like I thought like there was no doubt we were going to beat the Devils. We had beat them all year long. And they ended up taking us out in 6 games. Definitely was hard to take and figure out. But I think the whole thing of it too was the fact that there was times when I was linked up with Nasher and the trade. And then, there was Glenn Sather pulled me in the laundry room. He's like, "I'm not fucking trading you. So just get out of your head." And then all these moments passed. So I thought, okay, we're going to get a chance to run it back with this team. And then all of a sudden the trade happened. But I definitely felt like we had a pretty good opportunity with the team we had to win it all. So it was a bit of a tough pill to swallow at first when I did find out I was getting traded.
Brandon, you bring up an awesome question that you know the average person doesn't get to ask a pro athlete or really any athlete on a regular basis. But I think it's something that people should hear. We just experienced it up here in Ohio. Not Cleveland State, Ohio State lost in the tournament, right? And one of their basketball players is getting these crazy death threats online, and like people are saying awful things. You are now being linked in this trade to Columbus for Nash, and that's happening for a while. But like, you're a human being, right? Like, you're a guy. You are just a normal human being off the rink. We're used to seeing you on TV, buying your jersey, all that stuff. You're just a normal guy. What kind of effect does that on any player?
Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, like it was like, yeah, I mean, like basically I had my best season ever the year before, you know, and then I came into the season, I wasn't playing bad. I was having trouble finding my scoring. Like I was having trouble finding the net. Things just weren't working. I was almost like, you hear it all the time. Like people are trying too hard. Like they're just too in their mind. They want to do it so bad. They're like, you know, kind of getting there in their own way. So on and so forth. Yeah. So to hear that stuff, it was tough, especially after, you know, the previous year and the previous years that I'd given the Rangers to be a part of that. Obviously I was like, no, I mean, like, listen, like the Rangers sucked when I got drafted. I mean, they missed the playoffs. I don't know how long. And so to get to a point where we were good, you know, I didn't want to get traded. And especially, all due respect, I mean, it's just going to be the home for the rest of my life, but to the shittiest team in the league in Columbus. I mean, I didn't want that. So, yeah, it definitely weighs on you a little bit, but you know, at the end of the day, you just got to roll with the punches. Business is business.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you mentioned the Jackets and like, you know, you finally make your debut after the trade with the Jackets, and like almost immediately the winnings started. And then up until last year, you were a part of every single playoff appearance that the Jackets made. What was it like for you watching that transformation?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, listen, like, you know, those were all the emotions that I had, you know, being in New York and playing in New York. But once I got to Columbus, you know, I was like, all right, what's done is done. I got to, you know, try and be the best player for the Jackets now. And, you know, I'm not a type, you know, I'm a different type of personality. I'm not going to go into a locker room and accept, you know, losing hockey and last place in the league and the rest of it that sort of came with it. And I know that's not one man to change. I'm not going to sit here and say like I came in and saved the world or anything. Obviously we all know that wasn't the case. But, you know, Scott Housen, I think, made, you know, a lot of great moves. I mean, he brought in Bob, he brought in Fliggy, who's, you know, obviously, you know, still the captain today. You know, they made a bunch of, you know, really good moves and brought in, I think, some really good people. You know, Artie at the same time, Anisimov, I know he's been, you know, kind of long gone by now, but, you know, he had some success, obviously, in New York with me and with us. And, you know, so we brought some really good pieces to Columbus, and I knew that we had a good team. And even coming to Columbus, it was just kind of like this weird, like, mindset or this bad attitude. I don't know what it was, because they had some like amazing, you know, people and players and guys that had come from other places that had won before and whatnot. It was just about, I guess, maybe putting a good group of people together and just trusting each other and actually wanting to play hard for each other. Maybe that was kind of what they were missing in Columbus beforehand. But it was pretty special coming into Columbus. And obviously we lost in the tiebreaker, you know, the lockout year, which was tough because we beat Nashville last game and we're all sitting there around, you know, watching Minnesota win that game. And then we knew they had the regulation wins on us or whatever. But, you know, I think it kind of just was a bit of a stepping stone to let us know, like, hey guys, like, you know, we're a good team in here. And if we, you know, play the right way and stick together, you know, we can, you know, have some success. So that was a good step for us.
So what is it? We have spent a lot of time this past year on this podcast talking to former Buckeyes, football players, basketball players, and former Blue Jackets, current Blue Jackets. We've had Foligno on this podcast. Former Jackets, obviously Jody and Jean-Luc are on the broadcast team. Really the only person we have talked to this year that played for one of these Columbus teams, whether it's Ohio State or whether it's the Blue Jackets, that doesn't live in Columbus anymore, is Ron Tugnut. Ron Tugnut's the only guy that fled town on his motorcycle, on his Blue Jackets themed motorcycle, on his Harley, and fled back up to Canada. You made the comment, this is going to be my home. This is where I live. What is it about Columbus? Why does everybody stays there? What is it about Columbus?
Geez, I mean, it's tough to figure out where to start. I mean, like, honestly, it's you know, I came down there. Obviously, I had my first boy there, but I didn't have any kids when I got there, so I lived downtown. You know, I got to experience the short north. I think it's obviously growing. It's fun. It's, you know, it's a cool place to be. I mean, if you're a young person, it's a cool place to be. You obviously have campus just a little bit further away from that. So as a young person, you have all those type of things. You know, once you decide to have kids and you get a little bit older and you want to sort of venture out and live the suburb life, so to speak. I mean, you just got so many great places to live, like Upper Arlington, Dublin, New Albany. I mean, like Hilliard. I mean, wherever, like Powell, Hilliard. Like there's not really a bad place, you know, to live, I don't think, in Columbus. And I think just living there and playing there, you get to know so many people. All the people are amazing. You start building and forming these relationships and friendships with, you know, families and different people from all over the place. And, you know, it's just easy going. They're just great. They're just good people. Like there's no like fluff, there's no frills, there's no bullshit. Like they're just good people that like to have a good time and, like, you know, just enjoy whatever it is, golfing, hunting, you know, living. So I think that's what is sort of endeared me to Columbus, is just like good, honest, hardworking people that love sports and generally love having a good time and are generally good people. And obviously, you know, it helps all the rest of it. I mean, living in a nice suburb with, you know, a beautiful golf course and you know, great school system and all that stuff. I mean, what's not to love about Columbus? I mean, that was the question that I would pose to all the athletes and the free agents out there. Is like, guys, like, trust me, I played in you know, in the big city. What's not to love about this place?
Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's go back to the team a little bit. You know, just when you thought you could get away from Torts, he gets hired in Columbus. And, you know, and we would be remiss if we didn't ask you about your relationship with him. You know, obviously, you know, being in New York, you know, you've been with him for so many years. How did his demeanor, did his coaching style, how did he change from the Rangers to the Jackets, if at all?
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I think he changed some. I mean, it's like he was a successful guy before he came to Columbus. I mean, so there's only so much you want to change when you've had, you know, the type of success he's had in his career. I mean, his stats speak for themselves, obviously. You know, his coaching record speaks for itself. But I think, you know, he became a guy that learned a little bit, like, you know, he always pushes guys, but like, I feel like there was times in New York and places where he would sort of maybe cross the line a little bit, you know, maybe if he didn't cross it, he'd be real close to, like, you know, with a player. I think when he came to Columbus, he completely changed that and just, you know, like in New York, he would sort of embarrass players sometimes. Like we would have video sessions, he would just call somebody out. He'd sort of embarrass players. He would, you know, ridicule some players, you know, in front of his teammates and whatnot, and then sort of be a little bit of a bully, so to speak, which, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm, you know, saying anything bad, but I think when he came to Columbus, you know, he kind of you know, figured like that wasn't, you know, the best way to go about things. You know, he started asking, you know, it's not that he never demanded like less of his players. He just went about it in a different way, whether it was maybe more of a private setting or maybe of a sort of an empty threat setting where it's like, listen, guys, like, you know, in New York, we used to like have these video sessions where he would like, you know, put guys on there, like, you know, doing the flamingo and not blocking shots or whatever, or getting out of the way of
Oh,
shots,
jeez. Yeah.
you know, like, and there's like
Yeah.
nothing worse than like getting out of the way. In Columbus, he'd be like, guys, like, listen, we need to block more shots. I don't want to pull the tape up of guys getting out of the way of shots, you know?
Okay. All right.
So like there was that, you know, so I think that sort of epitomizes the whole thing. Like he used to just do it. And then I think, you know, he was just a lot more calculated when he was in Columbus. He was never any less demanding of his guys. He always demanded the same level of play and respect, but you know, I think he was just more mindful of the way that he went about doing it. And I think he was just generally a lot more respectful guy and coach, you know, in Columbus and with that group.
I don't
You
know
ever
that
see
there's.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know that there's anybody that has a better connection or more experience with Torts. And listen, there's stuff flying right now about the Blue Jackets. There's all kinds of rumors and about players and coaches and all that. We're not going to really get into that, but the perception from a guy like me who's never been in the locker room, what it looks like is Torts can be kind of hard up front. Like for new guys coming into the team, Torts can be a hard one to get a read on, or he can be a hard one to, like, you talk to these guys, like we had Foligno on, and now you, and like, it feels like the guys that have been with Torts for a while that buy into a system love playing with Torts, love being on his team and all that. It feels like he can be a little challenging when you're just stepping in, whether you're a veteran or new. So like as a veteran on that team, as the leader on that team, how do you like prepare new guys coming in for the new system and how it's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, right or wrong, like, you know, he's the type of guy that wants to set the tone right away. You know, like I'm in charge, I'm the boss, like, and we're going to play this way. Like, no matter how you played before or who you played for or what you did before, how much money you make or whatever else, like, this is the way that my teams play. And so you're either going to be a part of it or you're not going to be a part of it. And that's going to be sort of like up to you. So, I mean, like for me as like a leader in that locker room, you know, I'd pull a guy aside and say like, and, you know, I've done this even though I haven't been there. You know, Jack Rosselvic and I used to train together. You know, he's a good friend of mine, obviously 10 years younger than me, but he's a hoot to be around. You know, we play golf. Like I said, we trained my last few years together. And when he got traded, like I couldn't be more happy for him because I knew the opportunity. And like I picked up the phone and called him and said, like, listen, here's like just a few things that you just got to do. And you're gonna be fine. Like, you know, you have the abilities, like, you know, you have the shooting, the passing, the skating, you know, you have all these, you know, abilities and talents. You need to go in there and like play hard. Like you need to go in there, you need to be physical, you need to be willing to block shots, you need to like, you know, grind, dig in, like play hard in the corners, win battles along the walls, you know, win battles along the blue lines. If you do that, like this guy will love you. He'll play the shit out of you. And, you know, you'll like, you know, your career will go, you know, straight up. So, you know, that's the message. I said that to him, even though I'm not in the dressing room. And that would be the same message that I would give to any new guy coming in is like, if you just do these few things, like he doesn't ask the world of you. He's never like, listen, I need you to score 35 from this year, even though the team might need them to score 35 or not him, or somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know? But he's never going to say like, you need to do this. It's just always about like tangible things that you can control. And so that's what he's always, you know, preached, you know, for guys. And that's what I would tell guys that would come in and play for him.
So my next question, because it just fits in with this, and again, I don't mean to bring up anything that isn't the most fond memory in the world because we're having a great time talking with you. But like, again, one of the things that happened in your time with the Blue Jackets is that you were always the alternate captain. Well, not always, but in 2015, you were named the alternate captain. That got taken away. What does that mean to you as a player? And is that done by a coach in a motivating, like did Torts do that to motivate you? Because it was basically kind of a slow start to a season, and essentially that got taken away. And does that work? Does that motivate you?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know. You know, it was, you know, it just was one of those things. It was what it was. You know, I think there was a little bit more that met than that met the eye there in that scenario. You know, it's just one of those things that is, you know, the decision. I don't want to sound diplomatic here, but it's just one of those things that's a decision that the team makes and the coaching staff makes, and you know, it stays in the locker room. And it's, you know, obviously I wasn't that excited about it, but you know, a letter never defined me as a player. I would never, you know, I never did to be before that, and never did really after that. So again, it's just one of those things that I guess really until you just ask that question, I haven't really given much thought about. So yeah, in the moment it hurts for sure. Obviously it sucks. I'm not sure it motivated me to play any harder or you know, do anything different on the ice, but you know, shit happens. Shit happens, you know, in life, at work, at home, wherever else. You
All
know,
the time.
we learn from it, we live, and we move on. So, yeah. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but
It did. Listen, I wasn't. It wasn't looking for some crazy in-depth thing, and like I said, it's just from a fan's perspective. What does that mean? You know, it's like, what does that mean? Does that mean something? Is it frustrating? Is it not frustrating? But no, I think you answered the question perfectly. Chad, I think you had something.
No. Yeah. You were up next, buddy.
Oh, well, all right.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things that we've done, we talked to Blue Jackets broadcaster Jody Shelley, and he was a blast with us on the show. One of the league's great enforcers, though, like Jody Shelley, penalty monster, right? That dude spent more time in the box than almost anybody. But one thing we talked about, aside from the fact that guys on the podcast here, we did talk to Jody about getting an enforcers like support group going, and I think we need to do that. But one of the things we talked about was kind of the disappearance. Well, or like a reunion,
like a convention, so we could just hear all the stories, like an enforcers convention, so we could hear all the stories. Not like a support group, like, hi, my name's Jody, and I punched a lot of people in the face.
Enforcers Anonymous.
Yeah.
I was looking for the right word. It doesn't always happen.
Oh, Joey, good to hear from you. I didn't know if you're still on.
Yeah.
I do that though. I work my way in and out.
Yeah.
He's a Predators fan, so
well, you know.
Okay.
One of the things we talked about was the disappearance of that enforcer role, right? There's a couple of them, but like it's not like it was. But the enforcer kind of gave way to this new style of player, this new role, and it's one that you kind of became pretty well known for. And there's a lack of a better term. This is meant as endearing as possible, Brandon. It's an endearing term. I promise you, I am not insulting you on this podcast, but it's like the pest. It's
oh, what a dick.
I'm such a dick. Sorry. It's like, it's funny because we talked to Jody and he was like, listen, I wasn't great at all these skill things, but I found my niche and I could just enforce out there. And that's what I was good at. Now you've got these guys like yourself that is an extremely skilled player. You're fast. You've got the handles. You can shoot. Like you got all these things, but you are also an expert at pissing people off. Like you pissed people off with the best of them. And is that a role that you like mentally kind of took on? Is it natural? Because you were so good at it that you got guys to drop the gloves that never did. Like one of the highlights of your career had to be at the time you got Sidney Crosby to drop the gloves, right? Like he never does that. And you got him to fight. Like what did you have to kind of take that mentality on?
Hey, I got Ovechkin too before that, so I might be the
Well,
only
he'll
guy
drop
with
the
both those
gloves.
guys at the
Listen,
time.
Yeah.
That was my next. That was my next question. That was my next question, dude. Because
But
Ovi,
no,
you and seemed like you and Ovi went after. I mean, I know Ovi's a sauce crosser in
no.
pregame meal. like that would piss me off
Listen,
in general.
I mean, listen, I think the whole like pass roll or whatever you want to call it, like that was just that started like way back in juniors. I mean, that started like when I was still playing in Portland. That was just like me, feeling like I was like underappreciated or like underrespected in the league. Like I was like, I think I'm actually fucking better than you guys. And like, no, and I don't know if you guys all feel that way, but like, if you don't, like, I'm going to let you know about it. And so it started back then. It carried on into the NHL. And, it felt like it was just a part of my game that I needed to have. Listen, I was never like a guy that could go out there and score 30, 40, or 50 goals. Like I was never going to be a guy that was going to score 70, 80, or 90 or 100 points, but like I felt like if I brought enough to the table, like I would build a pretty special career for myself and obviously, be paid for it. At the end of the day, like I wanted to make money. Listen, I was like, listen, I want to take as much as I possibly can when I can take it. Right. So if whatever I can bring to the table that I can control, whether it was like getting under Crosby's skin or getting under any of the other top players' skins, chipping in, blocking shots on the penalty kill, winning faceoffs, scoring big goals, whatever it was, like that's what I was all about. Like I knew that I didn't have one skill set that was like so superior, to anybody else. Like some of these guys, like, Ovechkin's the greatest goal scorer of all time. Not saying that he doesn't have other things which makes him, a special Hall of Famer or once, a generational type of guy, but like, he's just a goal scorer. Like there's other guys that are just like, passers. There's guys that kind of have these, sort of, they fall into these roles of offensive or defensive or whatever it is. You're talking about enforcer or whatnot. I just wanted to have like, all these different tools. And, one of the tools that I had was just like, I played enough that I was able to play against top players and coaches felt comfortable playing me against the top players. And like, those guys wanted to go on the ice and like throw sauce around and like, not get hit and try and score and feel like, they're being, they had to be like put on a pedestal and like super respected and everything else. And like, I was like, listen guys, you're on the same ice as I am. And like, I'm going to slash you in the back of the legs or I'm going to cup check you. I'm like, I'm going to talk shit to you. Like, I'm not going to cross the line. I'm not going to say anything that's like, that I shouldn't be saying or that, my mom would, I wouldn't want my mom to hear, but, there are some things that were offsides, but I mean, like, it was just the way it was. So, no, I definitely, I feel like, looking back on my career, that's like one of the things that, sort of got away from me my last couple of years was being that guy. I don't know if it was like, I felt like I was just like, an old guy and like, but I look back on my last couple of years and I'm like, I kind of got away from that role a little bit. And that was what always helped make me want to, be the best version of myself and be as successful as I was, in my career. So if that's one thing that I can, look back on is I wish I would have, kept up with that a little bit more in my last couple of years.
Now I want to elaborate on the Ovi thing for a while because I know you got under a lot of people's skin and like, but like I remember that in particular because it seems like every single game you two played each other, you were able to just get after it with him. And like I said, I've heard he's a sauce crosser in pregame meal. Like that would piss me off in general. But like I don't know, did you guys have like a mutual respect for each other at all, or was it just like genuine hatred? Like, where is there any kind of relationship with Ovi? Like, or like, was it just you going after that top player?
No, we did. I mean, we met outside, off the ice a few times, hung out a few times, and like I always loved like he played like I kind of talked about him in a goal scoring role, but again, like, and I'll go back to it. Like he's one of the greatest of all time because he does everything good. But like you know, I hung out with him, a few times off the ice. He was a great guy, but he always played the right way. Like he played hard. Like he would look to like hit me as much as I would look to hit him.
Okay.
So like for me, I was like, dude, no better way to do things than like try and get this guy off the ice or get this guy worried about trying to hit me because I'm going to try and rock him. So, we had that sort of thing going. But if I could keep his mind off shooting the puck, I felt like that was a win. At the end of the day, listen, I had the most respect for that guy. Everyone who wants to talk about Sid and Ovi, whatever, dude, fuck Ovi or fuck Sid. Like, I'll take Ovi every day of the week. Like, I got an Ovi stick. I got an Ovi stick. Listen, I asked Ovi for an autograph stick. I got it from him. Thanked him for it. I would never ask Sid for a stick ever.
Damn. Damn it.
Oh shit.
Jeez.
Love it.
You brought up another good point there, though. And again, it's refreshing to talk to people on this level that do what you did, because you're sitting here at 34 years old, and we'll talk to you about career stuff in just a minute, but like, you don't know how long you have to play these games. So finding a niche that's going to get you a contract, that's going to get you a deal, like, the average Joe might not make the kind of money that pro athletes make, but you also can work until you're 65 years old in your career and be okay, because there isn't just an imminent threat of a puck bearing down your throat or like a guy bashing your face in. And I think it's a great point. And again, I think sometimes people just lose such track of the humanity of pro sports. Like, if I'm lucky, not everybody's Yarmir fucking Yager that can play until they're 59 years old and like at a high level. Like, not everybody can do that. You gotta do it while you can. In the meantime, and again, we'll talk future in a minute because this might have something to do with it, but Joe over here has got some audio of one of your other career highlights, and it's not necessarily hockey related, but we certainly have a question or two about this extreme highlight as soon as he plays this clip.
Jewelry needs, you're guaranteed to score big at Myers Jewelers. We also have the most talented salespeople on our team to make sure you always walk away a winner. But our team just got bigger. I'm Brandon Dubinsky. We're thrilled to add Myers Jewelers as the official jeweler of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Guys, I've been on ice all over the world, but that's the finest ice I've ever seen. Visit us on Stringtown Road and experience Myers Jewelers.
Oh, in unison.
The finest ice
in unison
anybody has ever seen.
That was some good looking ice.
First of all, I'll tell you what, Myers Jewelers is the place to go to buy jewelry. Everybody.
Hey, no free ads. No free ads. No free ads.
Hey, everything's free. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm not kidding about buying new jewelry at Myers Jewelers. But listen, that was a lot of fun. And actually, with those guys, with Scott, Jeff, and Meyer before he passed away, like we had a lot of fun with those guys. And believe it or not, I'm down here in Florida now, and I'm gonna go and see Ski Scott's Weissman on Friday, and hang out with them. So that was always a good fun, the ads and stuff like that. But those people became good friends too. So I'm always gonna give them the shout out too.
And you know what? We gave them the shout out. If you're in the area and you need something from Myers, go to them. But I think Hollywood could come calling, Brandon. I think, you really sold me on the ice and I never even saw it. I think we're talking about diamonds here and not anything else.
It is diamonds. Yes.
Right,
I can confirm
right.
that.
It's a lot easier to sit here and bullshit with you guys than it is to like stand in front of a camera and like,
I'm sure,
read the teleprompter. Like, this is like much easier.
Oh, it was flawless.
So
that was one of the best player cameos I think I've seen in a commercial.
I don't know. I think that tops Foligno's favorites for sure. Like that 100% tops Foligno's favorites.
Oh yeah.
I mean, would you rather be doing ads for like sick watches and diamond necklaces and stuff, or like sausage pizza.
Pizza
mean,
Hut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Right. Obviously,
I'm not-
it's the class of ads, man. It's the class of ads.
I'm not even gonna say the brand. I mean, like I'm like,
Oh, no.
listen, I'm gonna call Jets if I'm gonna eat pizza. In Columbus.
Yes. Yes. I love Jets
Yeah.
pizza. All right, so real quick, we've just got a few questions left, but we're right in the we're 20 games left of the Blue Jackets season. The Blue Jackets just come off of, and I don't know how closely you're following, but they just come off of a brutal weekend in Detroit where you go up against one of the worst teams in the league and get just smashed 2 nights in a row, and then you come out against Tampa and you smash Tampa. So what have your thoughts been on this year's team? As up and down and as much of a roller coaster as it feels like, they're still right in the middle of this playoff push. How are you feeling about these last 20 games?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have said it better. It's definitely been a roller coaster. I think I was looking, what are they, 3 points out of the last spot?
Yeah.
And then who's it behind them? Dallas has a few games in hand, something like that.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, like, ever since I've been a Blue Jacket, I'll say one thing about the Blue Jackets. Like, the team, like, it's always seems like they're up and down. They're kind of like, in or in the way, or I don't know, whatever, something. But then at the right time, or in one case, in my opinion, the wrong time, like you get on a big run, and you string together a bunch of big games, and you win a bunch of big games. So, hoping the team can put one of those runs together like we've had in multiple years since I was a Blue Jacket, and even since I haven't been playing. So, like I said, it just, again, hopefully, goaltending's got to stay strong. These guys got to, Cam and try and get Line A to start scoring a little bit more, get some guys that get hot a little bit, Borky, whatnot. And, I feel like they're right in the mix, and that's the place that they always are, and or that we always have been in. And if they can just string some wins together, I think they'll get into the playoffs. And again, the playoffs are the playoffs. Nobody knows what can happen.
Yeah, it's been crazy, and it's funny. We put out that you were coming on the show, and my favorite place to put things out is on Reddit. We put it out on Reddit, and 5,000 people commented. Not 5,000, but it was a ton of people that commented.
You're right.
Of course,
500,000.
No,
500. That's right. 500.
This is the Garage Beers podcast. 5.
No.
Don't sell yourself short.
No, don't undersell it. Don't undersell it. 500.
500,000 people.
But if you want to know the overwhelming thoughts on Brandon Dubinsky coming on the podcast, we put it out, and of course you just get the jackasses because you were under contract, and then you had Brandon. You had a crazy injury that is causing you to be in South Florida right now and not with the Blue Jackets. And you got the people that love to call that out. Oh, they're paying him for this or that. And it's funny. There was one person that made a comment like that, and there were literally 57 comments right underneath. Like, you do not talk about Brandon Dubinsky like that. So just tell us real quick, I don't know what the plans are. What's the plans for you? Are you just living life right now? You just enjoying life? What's the plans moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, living down here, enjoying it, obviously, business is business. We just talked about that, so under contract, unable to play, got the wrist injury, the multiple surgeries. I think if anybody knew the entire extent of what the wrist went through, they wouldn't be talking shit, but that's just what people do. I mean,
Right.
Listen, that doesn't bug me one bit. At the end of the day, I'm done playing hockey. I won't step on the ice anymore. It sucks. It wasn't the way that I wanted things to end, especially, in the middle of a preseason. But at the end of the day, like I said, I got 3 boys here, and I got, I'm 34 years old. I hope I got another 34 to go.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully more.
Please do more than that. Por favor.
No, I'm kidding. But, I just, I got a lot of years left, and I want them to be quality years. I don't want anything to happen where it jeopardizes my quality of life and jeopardizes the quality of a father I can be and with my kids and whatnot. So in life you just got to make some tough decisions sometimes, and I played through it for a couple of years. I think Blue Jackets fans would agree that I wasn't the same player my last couple of years as I was before that, and before the two surgeries that I had back in 17. But you know what? I fucking left it all on the ice and tried to play and do the best I could. But at the end of the day, this was the best decision and the most important decision that I'll probably end up making. It sucks. I had some things in the game that I didn't accomplish that I wanted to accomplish, whether it would be personal goals, playing 1,000 games, being 150 short or whatever it was, or, winning the Stanley Cup as a player, things like that. It's not going to happen. But at the end of the day, that's okay. I'm proud of my career and it's off to the next. I have, like I said, I plan on spending my time in Columbus, living in Columbus. There's a ton of great people there. Business is booming in Columbus. So I look forward to see what's going on next and figuring out what's next for Brandon Dubinsky and my family. So I'm excited for that. I'll always be a hockey fan. I'll always be a Blue Jackets fan. Even when I'm done playing, I'll be a season ticket holder. You can come find me at the game and have a beer and grab some popcorn with me, because I'll be there with my boys.
Yeah.
So, that's what's next for me.
Hey, listen, it's go ahead, Chad.
Oh no, I was gonna say just to piggyback off that. How is your overall health right now? Like, are you rehabbing? And I guess another part B of that is you're done playing hockey, but do you have any interest in getting back into hockey at some point from like a coaching standpoint or anything?
Currently not right now as far as getting back into hockey, but I mean, absence makes the heart grow fonder, as they say, right? So
yeah.
We'll see. Like, I'm not, I'll never rule out anything. Like the rookie, maybe no, I'm just kidding, a comeback sometime.
Yeah. So he's going to get into baseball, which is going to be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, no, I have no idea whether or not I'll end up getting him back in hockey or not, but yeah, we'll see.
Listen, I think all three of us are interested in joining you for a beer for a Blue Jackets game, so we're in for that. Here's the question I'm excited to ask you. I know the injury situation is tough and dealing with that professionally, but you're a dad. 3 times over, you're a dad.
Yeah.
I'm a dad. I got a 3-year-old and 1 on the way. Chad's a dad. Joey will be a dad at some point in his life. How have you enjoyed this time with your, we had Foligno on during that weird period of time this year between the bubble and then the late start to the season. And he was talking about being like a soccer dad and like finally getting to like drop his kids off at school and stuff. How are you enjoying just being a dad, enjoying time with your kids? And then second to that, you posted a picture on your Instagram of you and your son. And your son was wearing like a Masters caddy outfit. and then my second question is he for hire? And can he help me fix my slice?
That's a lot of questions.
Listen, I believe in you.
Being a dad, being a dad's been amazing. So since I've been away from the team, and I've coached now 3 basketball teams.
Yes.
I got 2 flag football teams under my belt and 1 soccer team. All 3 sports I never played. And I actually signed up to be the T-ball coach, but another dad wanted it worse than I did. So I think, no. So, I mean,
do you throw it on the gloves at that point?
No, you just friendly tap him on the shoulder and say, listen, if you need any help, I'm here. But
yeah. You just hip check them out of just routine.
I've enjoyed the hell out of that. Like my oldest boy doesn't love being on the ice and stuff. So he loves playing football and basketball and golf. And so I've enjoyed, like, I've coached, some of his teams through like I-9 Sports and stuff like that. That's been a blast. My middle son, he's 4.5. He's the one that's on the ice with me. You can see him kind of skating around and in the Instagram there, but he doesn't like want to listen to me on the ice. Like, like I try and like get him out there and like teach him how to bend his knees and like, stride it out and everything else. And like, he's like, no, Dad, like I'm not listening to you. So I actually, got a really talented young kid here who trains some of the young players down here in Florida, who's skating with my boy twice a week. And he's been great. And then he loves playing soccer. And so yeah, man, just doing it all. Like, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to like be at home. It's been different, obviously, too. There's been some changes, like, when you're used to being on the road as much as we were. And then even when you're home, like you're not home, like, cause on like a game day, like you go to the rink and like you have your pregame skate. And then when you're done with your pregame skate, you come home, and I guess everybody's different, but like I'd come home and like I would just eat, my pregame meal at like noon. And then like I would just like lay in my bed until like 4:00. And then I'd go to the rink and I'd be home by midnight or whatever it was. So like, even though you're like playing a home game, you're not at home. Like you're not like seeing your kids. You're not like playing with them and doing all these things. Like you're leaving at like 8 a.m. to go pregame skate. And like, you're coming back basically at midnight with a nap and a meal in between.
Right.
So crazy amount of time, at home as well. But it's been a blast. Like we play all sorts of fun games, knee hockey, the school's been crazy with the pandemic, and, listen, like I'm the best first grade teacher in the world right now. Like right now, like I don't have a fifth grader, but like if there's like a TV show or he's smarter than a first grader, I think I got some stuff down because, we're learning about B's and uppercase letters and, some small multiplication, stuff like that. So it's been a lot of fun.
Before Chad, I know Chad's got one last question to ask you, but before he gets into that, you just brought it up. We did it last night. We went to Dick's Sporting Goods up here in the Cleveland area, and I bought my kid. I'm not real sure that my kid's any kind of athletic at almost 4 years old, and that's okay. But at Dick's, the one thing he wanted, it was my like happiest moment. The one thing he wanted were just the mini sticks with the little balls. And my kid and I sat in the hallway of this house last night for an hour, just firing those shots back and forth at each other, playing mini sticks. Any hockey player, and I was not one, but any hockey player knows about the mini sticks, playing the balls down the hallway and all that. That was like my proudest moment so far of being a dad. It was amazing.
Oh, it's epic. I mean, I'll give you like a little piece here. So I'm in, like I said, I'm in Florida. We got a condo down here because, my wife's parents live down here, mostly during the winter. So we bought, a 2-bedroom condo, like, nothing crazy. And then we ended up deciding to stay here because we were able to do like virtual school and stuff like that. And, so we're in here. And of course, we do the same thing. Like my boys are like, we need the nets, Dad. We need the sticks. Like we need all this stuff. And so, we get it. And they're running back and forth, like on the hardwood floor, like just running back and forth. And so my neighbor sends me like the nicest email in the world. He's the person right below me. He's like, basically like, listen, I have like a young daughter and like, I'm trying to be as nice as I can by telling you like, it sounds like you have like elephants, stampeding in your house all day.
Listen.
It sounds like there's a stampede going on all day long in your house. If you could just like help me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Like, they go to bed early, like I said, but it, I was like, you know what? I didn't really think about that. So I'm like, guys, like, keep it down a little bit. And then we ended up going out and buying like all these like rubber mats and stuff, to play on. And so we're having a lot of fun, man.
Brandon Dubinsky, Amazing hockey player, very considerate neighbor, very considerate buying the flooring.
Now I know what you're thinking, and all I'm trying to say is, could you shut the fuck up? No, no. All right, man. So, dude, are you ready to get your mind blown at about it? Because this is just a small world, Brandon. Here, small world moment here. I hope you're ready.
Oh God, here we go.
So I obviously I had to ask around and see if like there were any stories out there, any fun stories I could bring up. So my buddy from high school moved up to Alaska after we graduated, right? And I go, hey, I messaged him. I said, hey, what can you tell me about Anchorage? Is there anything like I could bring up that maybe would make Brandon feel nostalgic? Anything like that? Well, I didn't say Brandon at the time. I said I'm interviewing a former NHL player, and I said, and he goes, who is it? And I go, Brandon Dubinsky, and he just laughs his ass off. He sends me a message back, laughs his ass off, and he goes, I'm roommates with T. Sutz and Daniel Sira.
Yeah.
So he said I'm roommates. So and Mike and Joe, these are his best friends from high school, apparently, or one of them is his best friends from high school.
Hold on, back up. Who is this again? Who's the guy?
One of my buddies from high school moved to Alaska after we graduated, and his name's Matthew Salkel. And I just asked him, I was like, "Is there anything you can tell me about Anchorage? Like, I just wanted to learn more about Anchorage." And he once I told him who I was interviewing, he laughs his ass off. He goes, "My roommate's his best friend from high school. One of his best friends from high school." So I asked around, and unfortunately, they said like, I don't have too many PG stories that I could give. But the one thing that they did give me was they said, ask him about the legend of Hawk 19. I don't know what that is, but I'm really curious to find out.
Oh God, you know what? I'm thankful for you and your friend and both Taylor and Daniel for not completely throwing me under the bus.
Yeah.
I've known those guys since we were probably 5 years old. Like, so, and like best friends, absolutely hammers it on the head. Like Taylor was in my wedding, Daniel was at my wedding. Like,
okay.
We talk on a very regular basis, those guys. So, T-Sutz is Taylor, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
And Daniel, but so the legend of Hawk 19, it's actually hilarious because I actually had this conversation. I don't know how this got brought up, but a few weeks ago it got brought up. So Hawk 19 was my first car. It was a 1990 Ford Tempo.
Oh no!
It was. Now listen. It gets better. It gets so much better. So, like, I bought this thing. So, like, my dad was kind of like a hard ass, and he was just kind of like all my kids are gonna buy like their first car. So, like, my older brother had like this, like, it must have been like an old construction truck or something. It was like a 1974 Dodge Ram. It was orange. and he had it painted like blue, but like didn't obviously have the kind of cash to like paint the insides of the door and whatnot, like the door wells and all that shit. So like you'd open the door and it'd be like bright orange, but like on the outside it was like navy. I don't think it was spray paint, but it wasn't. A little bit more than that. But so yeah, I bought this car for like $500. And it actually drove pretty well. It had like a dent that, I'm not kidding you, was like this big. Like that's like a foot. Like it was like this massive dent like in the driver's door. I bought the thing for $500. It had like these. It had the automatic seatbelts, that went like up and over your shoulder.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's real nice. That's a real nice situation. Real nice.
So, anyways, my first year in Portland, I was 16. I didn't have a license. Actually, Braden Coburn still plays in the NHL. He was my next door neighbor. He was the one that like drove me around my entire 16-year-old year in Portland, playing for the Winterhawks. And so the next year, like it's just what I had, man. It's just what we had and my family had. Like, so we shipped this 1990 Ford Tempo down. I was 17, and it's like this really popular thing in Alaska to like get like these personalized license plates. It's like the sweet thing to do. So to like throw Nate Thompson under the bus because like he's, you know, he played in the NHL and like I played with him. Like he had a plate that said like Tomps on it, you know? So anyways, my dad thought it'd like be this like really nice touch, like really like sweet thing to like get me this personalized license plate that said Hawk 19. Because I wore number 19. I played for the Winterhawks. And so he sends this thing down. It's got the plate. Anyways, Taylor remembers the story because Taylor actually played junior with me that year. We were both 17. He made the team. That was his only year that he played in the Western Hockey League. We played together in Portland. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun. And I used to drive him around. He was my neighbor. So we drove in Hawk 19 all the time. So we get in the car and our seatbelts would be over our shoulders. I'd be driving around. But then, like, we would play at the Memorial Coliseum or the Rose Garden, and so, like, we all parked our car underneath, you know, and I'd be sitting there, like, on face-offs and shit, like, because the opposing team's bus would, like, drive in, you know, and, like, park, and I'd be, like, sitting there on face-offs, and it happened, like, I swear to God, it happened every game, especially because most of the players in the league hated me, too. They were like, dude, sweet car, buddy. Sweet car, buddy. Hawk 19. Way to go. And it was like the biggest piece of shit in the parking lot.
Oh, now I get it. Because when Matt,
I love the idea of you. I just love the idea of you parking that thing like under the Rose Garden, like an NBA arena, and here comes this Ford Tempo Hawk 19.
Dude,
lower the gates.
Lower the gates. I had it for 1 year, actually. I mean, lucky enough, I got drafted that year, and I was like, we just got, we got to get a new car. So we ended up, we graduated to like a Chevy Malibu Classic after that. But we had Hawk 19. Hawk 19 lived on for a year. I think the plate's somewhere in like my mom's garage or something. But like, we always like to die laughing about it. It's one of the more legendary cars that ever existed, and all the other opposing players would just give me shit like, why would you ever put a personalized license plate on that piece of shit? Or identify yourself with that car. And I'm like, dude, it was just my dad trying to be a nice guy, you know? So
dude, now I get it. Now I totally get it, because when Matt sent me that message, he said Taylor laughed his ass off when he told him to tell you that.
It's like the idea of shipping the Ford Tempo too. Like, you think the shipping company's like, you sure?
What, the shipping's going to cost twice as much as the car costs? Are you sure you want to do this?
Yeah,
you could actually scrap this one and buy one twice as nice down there in Portland.
God, I mean, Hawk 19.
It's baby.
Some incredible stories. And as you heard on the show tonight, you're going to find Brandon Dubinsky at Nationwide Arena drinking some beers, watching the Blue Jackets. We certainly want to be a part of that party at some point. So we need to do a Garage Beers meetup with Brandon Dubinsky at some point. But Brandon, man, you stayed up past your bedtime. We very much appreciate it. You told us some great stories. You opened up to us. We very much appreciate that. Brandon Dubinsky from the Blue Jackets, from the NHL. We very much appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us on the Garage Beers podcast. We appreciate you.
I had a blast, guys. Thanks a lot. And look forward to hanging with you boys and doing this again. Thanks for having me.